Barcelona, Inter Milan, semifinals of the UCL. Is going to be such a good game. I was so excited for the Real Madrid game, the Clasico final, and the Copa del Rey. We got that W. Let's go. But the tough week, the tough month, whatever you want to call it, it's not over yet. We have a big, big match against Inter Milan, and it's at home. So, it's, a little bit better than traveling to Milano immediately after a Clasico. But, we're going to be right at home for a little bit longer before we have to travel anywhere. It's a big, big match for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest things I can think of is that Inter Milan plays this style of play that is kind of Barcelona's kryptonite. All right, so we all know that Barcelona struggle heavily, and when I say heavily, I don't mean like we're garbage. I just mean you can noticeably tell that we have difficulties trying to break low blocks and kind of teams that have so much players in the box defending. And, we've seen it against Atletico, we've seen it against Mallorca, we've seen it against Getafe, we've seen it against a lot of smaller teams that they're playing to not lose. They're not playing to win, right? But Inter Milan, these guys are the best in the world at doing that. And that's why it's a little bit, tough. So there's pros, there's cons. We got a lot to talk about in this video. I want to talk about my score prediction. I want to talk about the lineup prediction. I want to talk about Inter Milan's recent form, Barcelona's recent form. I also got a very good bet for you guys at the end of the video. Stay tuned. It's going to be a longer than usual parlay, but I'm very confident, very excited for it. Stay tuned for that. First, what I want to talk about is going to be our lineup prediction. There's a couple of things that I can see changing, but more things staying the same than not. In the lineup that we went into the Real Madrid game, I do think it's going to be pretty much identical to that. One of the only things I can think of that Hansi Flick might kind of just throw in there, for one, I think that Inigo Martinez at left back was pretty solid. I don't think he's going to start that. Maybe later down the game he might do that, kind of like the Real Madrid game where later on when Gerard Martin got subbed out, Inigo Martinez was the one that kind of pushed out and went to the left back while it was Inigo Martinez the left back and then Kubarsi and Araujo playing center backs with Koundé on the right. And, it worked out very well defensively, because that's probably our best four defensive players in our whole team. And even though technically we have center backs at fullback, Koundé and Inigo Martinez, remember they're natural center backs. They were very solid, the whole game. It looked kind of really good, and we know how good Inigo Martinez is at playing the ball. So, I don't think it's going to happen to start the game off. That's all I'm going to say. Another big thing is Balde seems to be healthy. I don't know if he's going to be even included in the squad. I've been seeing a lot of posts. I've been seeing videos of him, celebrating, running over, jumping over the ads wall and everything. So I'm really hoping that he makes a surprise start. It'd be way better in kind of in spirits and in morale and, kind of odds to win and all that. So I do hope he plays. Maybe even comes into the sub, but I doubt it. I'm going to prepare for the worst. So I'm going with Szczesny. By the way, Ter Stegen, I think Hansi Flick confirmed Ter Stegen will not play in the UCL. This is all Szczesny. Szczesny kind of stepped in when needed. He hasn't kind of put a wrong foot in, except a few bad saves or missed saves against Dortmund in both legs. We've seen a little bit of kind of not getting there, not much of errors, but just not getting there. But overall, all in all, Szczesny is going to be our keeper for the rest of the UCL. God willing, we make it to the final, Szczesny will be there. And Ter Stegen might, jump in a few league games before, the end of the season. Maybe, just maybe, against Real Madrid. We'll see. I do think our lineup is going to be Szczesny in goal. We're going to have Koundé. I really would want Araujo to start, but that's only if Inigo gets pushed out to left back, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to say Kubarsi, Inigo, and Gerard Martin are going to be our back four. And then everything up will be very predictable. I'm going with a Frankie de Jong and Goat Pedri in the midfield. And a lot of people would say Firmino or Olmo in the middle. It's going to be Olmo. I promise you it's going to be Olmo. This is not a game for Firmino to start in. I think he's going to come in very late and bring the energy like he always does. He's very energetic, very fast, very daring. He's going to shoot from wherever. And you don't want that to start the game. You want control. You want stability to start the game. And Olmo's going to give you that. And then obviously Rafinha and Lamine Yamal are going to be on the wings. And then, we got the Shark starting. Lewandowski's still injured. He's going to miss both of the legs. But I couldn't pick a better person to replace Lewandowski for these matches he's going to miss than Ferran, in our squad. There's no one else. I wouldn't put Pau Victor. I wouldn't put Olmo the false 9 and then start Firmino. Actually, that sounds like a very good idea. But it probably wouldn't be our first option. I think that's what the lineup is going to be. There's not much room for change. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think there's too much to change. Like I said, maybe Balde can do a surprise start. I do think he's healthy enough. Maybe Hansi Flick can choose start for me. Maybe Hansi Flick can push Inigo to left back. But I doubt it. This is what it's going to be. In terms of Inter Milan's lineup, I'm not going to go over it. I know their lineup has been kind of fluctuating, or not fluctuating, it's just been rotating a lot because of injuries. I know they're not going to be without Thuram, or they are going to be without Thuram. I know Pavard just got injured. I think DeMarco is back, but I've been hearing a lot of debates on Twitter whether they start DeMarco or Agosto. One of them way better going up and one of them way better going back than the other. So it's going to be very very interesting to see what they do. I do think that in a game like this, Inter Milan want to kind of hold Barca off more than they want to attack and score goals. So I do think that a better player for that would probably be Agosto. I know that the point was that he can defend better. He did have like a few assists in their last game. I think it was against Bayern. But DeMarco's their guy. I think Dumfries is back as well. So that is that. I think the biggest matchup we're gonna have is gonna be in the midfield. Because if the one day I can't pronounce his name. If him and Barella start in the midfield and Pedri and De Jong start on the other side of the midfield, I think that's gonna be where the focus is gonna be. Whoever wins that battle is going to win the game. I promise you. If Barella and Canaloglu kind of dominate Pedri and De Jong, which is very tough to do, I think the game is going to go their way. But if De Jong and Pedri can do their thing, can be consistent, can do what they've already been doing throughout these last few games against Madrid, against Celta Vigo, against Mallorca, against all these teams, then, it will be in our favor. They will have the game in their hands. Only we could lose it. Inter Milan has taken a dip in form. They just lost 3 games in a row. They lost 0-3 to Milan. They lost 0-1 to Bologna. And they lost 0-1 to Roma. And the thing is, they didn't just lose 3 games in a row. They failed to score 3 games in a row. And I was talking with my friend, and he was like, hey, that doesn't mean that they're going to get, beaten badly by Barca. Maybe this is going to be a bounce-back game, and maybe it could. Maybe it could be a bounce-back game. So I think we have to be very wary of that. It might work in our favor. It might not work in our favor. But overall, it's something kind of just, use to our advantage. And you're probably wondering, like, how can you use that to an advantage? That's a stat, right? But play with confidence. I think if you play with confidence, it's kind of going to mess up with their confidence. And then they're going to kind of, I don't wish bad on anyone, on any team. But we'll kind of keep them in that mindset of that dip in form, if you know what I mean. I'm not trying to confuse anybody, but I do think if we play with confidence, then I think we can keep their streak of losing going, and we can continue to be in good form as well. When it comes to my prediction, I've been struggling, leaning either way. Like I said, if Inter Milan choose to kind of take this, we don't want you to score, we don't even want to win, we just want to stop you from scoring, then it's going to be a hard game. I do think Barcelona will win either way. Either way that Inter Milan choose to play, I think Barcelona will get the win. I do think that there's only 2 ways it's going to happen. Barcelona will either win 1-0 if Inter Milan choose to not try to win, instead defend. I think Barcelona will win 1-0. I think the other alternative is Inter Milan, they want to go out and score. They want to go out and kind of get their form back, get out of this slump they're having. They're going to want to score. Lautaro Martinez is going to have a great game. They want to do all this. I think the game would end 3-1. It'll be more open. They will score. I think Barca will score. They will just score more. They'll leave gaps in behind for Rafinha, for Yamal, for Ferran, for Olmo to kind of control the game, pull the strings in the attack, while Pedri kind of pulls the strings in over everyone. So I do think it will be more that. I know these games have been anticlimactic. I say these games, but it was only one game, the Arsenal and PSG game. PSG just beat Arsenal. I really want Arsenal to go through, but I kind of predicted that PSG would beat them. I don't think that Arsenal have been, up to par. I know they kind of look good, but they beat a poor Madrid. Props to them, and it's still just as embarrassing to Madrid and just as an achievement for Arsenal. But they beat up poor Madrid, so it kind of maybe got to the heads. They got outperformed by PSG. They had a solid game defensively, only conceded one, but it could have been way more, let me tell you. Dembele got injured. I don't know if he's going to return. I heard he's fine, but you never know. But my point is that, I'm really hoping that these games aren't going to be anticlimactic again. I hope that Barcelona and Inter Milan can kind of just start shooting back and forth. And, the game will be my prediction, which is 3-1. I went on a little rant, but 3-1 is going to be my prediction. Like I said, I really want this game to be kind of very attacking. I don't want Milan to just kind of park the buzz and kind of wait for them to go to Milano and then, at the San Siro, then they want to attack. Let's not do that. Let's give everyone a game. Let's try to get out of form, Milan, and Barca. Try to keep your form going. That is what we need. That's what everyone wants to see. That's what gamblers want to see. All that. Speaking of gamblers, my bet. This is going to be something different. If you watch any of my videos at all prior, I usually give you like a 2 or 3 man slip. And, nothing crazy. You can put $10, maybe win 50, 5 times your money. This one's going to be very, very much bigger. I'm going with an 8-leg parlay, but it's not just an 8-leg of crazy, crazy stuff. It's an 8-leg of stuff that sounds reasonable. So what I'm going to tell you right now, and these 8 legs, we're going to go Barcelona to win, right? These 3 things, the first 2 things I'm going to say, they kind of go side and side. I mean, side by side, Barcelona to win. Barcelona to have over 1.5 goals, and Barcelona to have a corner spread of minus 1.5, meaning they just have to have 2 more corners than Inter Milan by the end of the game. If Barca have 8 and Milan have 6, perfect. If Barca have 3 and Milan have 1, that's perfect. If Barca have 2 and Milan have 0, that's perfect. I just need Barca to have 2 more corners, right? Sounds not that hard, especially they're at home. Like I said, especially if Milan want to take that defensive approach, it's going to be just kind of corner after corner after corner. And then we're going to follow it by 3 players to get a shot on target, right? This is the kind of part where I'm saying it's not as risky, it's kind of minimal, but at the same time, it's a game, anything can happen. I'm going with Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, and Lautaro Martinez to all get a shot on target. 1 single shot on target. It will be, hard to get multiple players to have that stat. If I just told you Yamal to get a shot on target, you're probably like, hey, yeah, that sounds easy. But when you want 3 different players to do it, it's a little bit harder. Just because you're relying on 3 different players, it's more risky. The power of numbers eventually gets you. So we're hoping that they all have a decent game. I don't want Lautaro Martinez to score, but I would like him to get a shot on target. And then this part, you do not have to add it. You do not have to add it. I'm only adding it because I want to, right? But I did add Inter Miami to win the game or tie the game. And by that, I chose their spread. It was a plus 0.5, meaning they can win or tie the game. And then I put the game to have a total of 1.5 goals over. So they have to have 2 goals in that game. Not Miami, the game overall. So, it can be 1-1. Miami can win 2-0. It can be 3-1, whatever. So, not Barca. Miami can either win or tie, and the game total to have over a goal. So, 2 goals. And that's pretty much it. I'm putting $25 to potentially win about $500. I can't remember exactly, but I think that's what it was. And like I said, you don't have to tail the whole thing. Only tail it if you love it. I'm gonna make a shorter video on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So I'm gonna make these reviews like this, long form, if you want to kind of hear me out, hear my explanations and all that, my opinions. But for you guys that are very lazy like me, I'm watching this video, but I really wouldn't be, I'm making this video, but I really wouldn't be watching all these videos that are 20 plus minutes long on reviews, unless it's like my boy A&S Skills. But, I know a lot of people want to be convenient, so I'm going to make some short form videos as well. But, that's pretty much it for the video. I really hope we win this game. It's going to be very entertaining, very tough as well for both sides. So, come on, boys. Isca Barca. Vamos!